of Bangladesh will be presenting on the charge of destruction of Bangladesh's jute industry through structural adjustment program. Honorable judges of the People's Tribunal, today I stand before this honorable tribunal not merely as a prosecutor, but as the voice of thousands of victims whose dreams, livelihoods, and futures were crushed by the destructive policies of the World Bank and IMF. The World Bank and IMF are major funding agencies in Bangladesh. Both these twin powers come from Bretton Woods institutions in 1944, immediately before the Second World War, and had ended in 1945. They were established with the promise of aiding developing nations and started supporting the independent Bangladesh since the 1970s. However, these twin institutions soon became the tool of neocolonialism, targeting developing nations like Bangladesh. In the 1980s, it came with the idea of the Structural Adjustment Program that prioritized devaluing currency, cutting public spending, privatizing industry, and deregulating the health and education sectors. When Bangladesh emerged as an independent nation in the 1971, the World Bank and IMF stepped in with financial aid, but this aid came at a hidden cost. The Structural Adjustment Program of the 1980s. And the most brutal consequences of this policy was the closure of Adumdi Jute Mill in 2002. Under the SAP, the World Bank and the IMF advised the Bangladesh government to close the world's largest jute mill, the Adumdi Jute Mill, by raising the lame excuse of branding this sector as a losing one. I ask the Honorable Tribunal, if it was a losing sector, why didn't the World Bank and the IMF suggest modernization? Why didn't they provide technological support or machinery upgradation? Why didn't they help Bangladesh create global demand for jute products like eco-friendly bags and carpets? If it had been considered to be a losing sector, they would have prescribed modernizing the mill, but they did not. The truth is, the closure of Adumdi Jute Mill was a strategic move to destroy Bangladesh's self-reliant economy and make us dependent on foreign imports. They gave such harmful advice to the government in order to harmonize Bangladesh's economy with the world's free market economy. The mill was nationalized after the independence of Bangladesh in 1972, and it was operated by the Bangladesh Jute Mill Corporation, BJMC, before it was closed in 2002. The closure of Adumdi Jute Mill had a devastating impact on the workers, their families, and the local community, such as jute growers in the agricultural sector. And the victims' families are still suffering till this day. The undervaluation of the machinery and the properties of the closed Adumdi Jute Mills itself has caused a loss of 10,450 crore to the government. The impact on the workers were job losses. The mill's closure left around 25,000 people unemployed with no pensions and savings. Job difficulty. Many workers had trouble finding alternative employment. Some entered informal labor market. Financial crisis. Many workers faced rising indebtedness and were unable to feed their families. Some sold their assets and inherited lands. Education. Many children of the workers had to quit school to support the family. The impact of the community were loss of heritage. The mill's closure represented a loss of jute culture and heritage, loss of income. The closure had a devastating impact on the local community, including workers, their families, and residents of Adumdi Nagar who have had their small businesses in the area. Health problem. It has also led to the closure of hospitals for the workers who used to receive treatment facilities. The closure is a sad day for workers, employees, officials, and the residents of the Adumdi Nagar so far. The consequences to the jute growers are around 500,000 jute growers, small and large, gave up cultivating jutes. Consequently, the rural economy started to suffer serious decline. It is good that there is still no immunity for World Bank and the IMF in Bangladesh. There were efforts made to give immunity to World Bank and IMF in 2007 through passing a bill in the parliament, but due to the people's pressure movement, it could not pass. The bill wanted to ensure that the bank cannot be taken to court, it cannot be held liable for its action by the people and the government. In the case of Bangladesh, there are still options to hold the World Bank and the IMF legally responsible for their misdeeds in relation to the project and finance. Therefore, the symbolic People's Tribunal verdict can be the resources for the formal tribunal for any country that is affected by the twin institutions, the World Bank and IMF.